go, it's the stretch, the 419 up past Brancaster. All the way up to Blakeney. Like going on the salt marshes at Blakeney. I'm always careful to adhere to the speed limits, of course. Don't want to frighten the locals, or indeed cause a road traffic accident. It's an unassuming start to a bit of great road here in Old Stanton. There's always a little bottleneck here by an art gallery. It's not helped by people with enormous mobile caravans. Stanton, we hit a 60-mile-an-hour stretch of road, which will probably now be ruined by what I call 38-mile-an-hour drivers. They drive at 38 miles an hour on every sort of road, be it 60-mile-an-hour roads like this, or 30-mile-an-hour residential roads. 40's just a little bit too quick for them. Might give them a nosebleed. Games I like to play on roads like this though, and the favourite one is people who think braking makes their car narrower. They see a car coming towards them, so they stand on the brakes. Now, I'm not particularly awesome at physics, but I'm fairly sure the closer you get towards light speed, the narrower your vehicle gets. So actually the best thing to do is accelerate. Plenty to do. We never let the fact that it's raining get in the way of anything. It usually is raining in Norfolk. Weather like this will probably have the locals all sunburnt and peeling, so they just won't know what to do with themselves. The last 10 years has seen a real gentrification of Norfolk though. 15 to 20 years ago it used to be full of pubs, full of crusty locals, and they used to sort of have pate on toast at the bar. They'd serve you a pint of something that looked like pondweed. I remember once almost getting into a fight trying to order a pint of stout. The woman behind the bar was adamant I wouldn't like it. It was a chocolate stout. It didn't taste like Guinness. I was sort of full of myself going, look, just give me a pint. I want a pint. And eventually she gave it to me and I drank it. It wasn't a problem, but now it's full of craft ales and whatnot. It's ever so slightly posher than it used to be. Everything's been painted that National Trust shade of green. And there's not cafes anymore, there's delis that have seating areas. A good example actually we're coming up to on the left here. In a minute. Obviously not quite yet because it's not there. There's a pub called the Orange Tree. When we first came up here, you could get a great Sunday lunch there. Roast beef and Yorkshire pud with nice gravy or whatever. Nowadays it's all about technically arranged vegetables with a couple of slivers of meat in a jus. Gravies have been expunged. You can just have a jus now. God knows what a jus is. It's some pontification of gravy. Doesn't taste as nice, but there you go. Just down here on the left, they found a Roman settlement. There's a whole street named after it. Nice stuff. I'd like to point out any flashing signs alarming about speed purely to do with the car in front and nothing to do with me. I am of course adhering to the national speed limit, the limit on the road as appropriate. You can see there Titchwell Manor, National Trust pastel shades. I remember we went to a pub by Binham Priory a few years ago. A massive Chelsea tractor took 15 minutes parking, and the haw-haws came in and haw-hawed all over the menu, and they went, look, fish and chips, fish and chips with mushy peas, wah, 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 wah. Frankly, they didn't stay for food, and it was good they didn't, because they would have been murdered. Unimpressive. Ship Inn, apparently a popular haunt of Nelson when he was in the area. It wasn't up the old Sea Dog, which is a reference to an episode of Blackadder when he depraved practice. Up. Now the majority of the coastline along here isn't sandy beach or even pebbles and salt marsh. You can go and pick wild samphire, have your seafood bought from one of the fish markets. Up here on the right is one of our favourite pubs to come, the Jolly Sailor. They have a good range of local beers. In fact, they used to have a microbrewery there, but their food is plentiful and tasty. You won't find them serving anything besmirched with a jus. down here on the right in the dip, and the dip itself was flooded last year when we came up, as you can see from the enclosed video, is Deepdale Backpackers Lodge. We've stayed there a few times as well. It's a really good campsite. It's also got some a backpackers lodge and a cafe that does a very pleasant breakfast. I just love the way the road winds. There's nothing more boring than a straight road. This manages to be a coastal road out in the countryside, yet still wide enough to pass a Chelsea tractor without having to mount the verge, so they never want to scuff their alloys, but at the same time it's got plenty of character to it. It's a cracking bit of road. Always a good sign when there's a road sign telling you that it gets wiggly. They've been down here doing what I consider the bane of our roads, and that's surface dressing. They fill in a few potholes in a half-hearted manner, spray a bit of tarmac on and then cover it in gravel. And apparently, according to some so-and-so I saw on the television the other night, that adds 10 to 15 years to the life of the road. Well, I think